I'm not gonna go handle the whole SOL and SPL token transfers. That's going to be a much more involved task right now. It would involve rewriting the program in quite a few ways. So I'm going to hold off on that. And I just want to kind of confirm that I've got a couple of things that have been on my mind that have come up. I want to make sure that, for example, I want to first make sure that if a user doesn't happen to have the corresponding ATA, the associated token account for the particular trade, that they can, that it still works. So what I mean by that is like, say the seller transfers or the seller out token is X, in token is Z, or yeah, or maybe that's it. Maybe seller out token is Z, in token is Y. But the buyer doesn't have a Z ATA. Buyer is paying in Y. Something like that. I need to test this out. So I want to make sure, need to make sure that buyer can still accept. Yeah, so I don't know if this is really a program level, like inside my program. So like inside the accept context, you know, if we have you know, right here we take whatever's been escrowed out. So in that scenario it would be like the Z token, and we're creating a transfer, and we're transferring it from that to here. So right here, this buyer in token account, if they don't have that, I need to create the ATA, right? So if I go and look at this, verifying that, you know, this is kind of old comments, that tokens are the same, can't use escrow mint. So the constraint is that whatever account is passed into as the buyer in token account and its mint needs to equal whatever this escrow token account mint is. So, and it needs to be. So maybe this isn't handled in the program, but instead is handled inside on the client side. Because what I mean by that is I've seen, let me pull it up. Like here is a pretty good guide to transferring SPL. They have this, there's this function, get or create associated token accounts. So it's very similar to just the create token account. And I'm doing that. I'm using this create associated token account in my program already. So like when I go down here, create associated, yeah, I mean, I'm doing it right here. And the fields are exactly the same. So this is in my test. Now, one thing that I learned is that in my client, or in my front end, when trying to do this, create associated, for part of the setup, I learned that I couldn't really use these built-in methods directly. And maybe I could go back to them and figure that out, but I felt for some reason there were certain things I couldn't do because signing with Anchor in your testing environment, the signer, you don't have to pass the signer for some of these as Anchor, because they're but when I tried to do it from the front end with the wallet adapter, I was getting some issues. So kind of following the cookbook, it made me I ended up having to do this compose yourself approach where you build it up. So then what I was doing is using the get associated token address and then creating the associated token account instruction, which more or less is the get or create. So I'm curious to see if that would, curious to see if this will work. So what I was going to do is first just make sure that I understand it from the inside my test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another test, or another token, I should say. And this one's going to be Z. Seller will be the payer, and the authority and all that. And I'm just gonna it's just gonna be one more token. I'm gonna get rid of that, and obviously it's complaining because I don't have a global. Okay. Start with that. So I'm going to mint 3 tokens now. And the handy create mint allows me to do that. But then I'm going to create This is all part of the setup. I have in my test, I'm just hard coding my seller out token account to be the X mint. And then I'm minting supply to the seller, and the in token account this is my test when I was dealing with just 2 tokens. But I may need to consider expanding on this. So, yeah. I mean, at the very least, what I could do as a quick test is I think what I could do is make the out token not X but Z, and mint supply to that instead of X. This is gonna be bogus. This is not probably how I should proceed with this, but and we'll still say we want Y. Okay. Now the buyer in is going to be Z. Seller N will be Y, and buyer out, what the buyer's going to pay, will still be Y. And now mint Y for the buyer. Okay. Like that should like tell me if this is going to break or not. So creating the custom program, initializing an escrow. I'm initializing with where the out is now the Z mint and the N is the Y. And then this is just bad. I should just I'm gonna break this stuff. I'm on the right track, but I feel like this is not good practice. Might as well just do this a little bit differently. So why not just try to copy this initialize test. Boy, oh boy, I've got like a lot of stuff. Yeah, because I'm gonna have to change the accept and everything. I feel, all right, don't be lazy. This is not the time to half-ass it. So, all right, let's think this through. I think I need to rename some variables. So instead of seller out, seller in, buyer out, buyer in, I'm thinking instead of actually creating, you know, like let seller X token account, let seller Y token account, and let seller Z token account. Yeah. And then same with this, like let buyer. Yeah. And you just need to be a little bit more explicit. I could do this directly in the front end, like as well, you know, but I kind of feel like this is less with my test. I feel like this could buyer. Yeah. So and I could do another escrow 3. Escrow 1. Why not? And then down here, I'm minting. Now, what I probably need to consider is I could leave these alone for now and just seller X mint 2, creating mint, and then creating the ATA, and then minting 2. Seller in, buyer out, mint. Yeah. So what I could do is take this block and use this update So this is, and I just copied this block, which has been working. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to call this the seller Z token account. Seller, we're going to do Z. I'm going to make sure that my other changes didn't overwrite my stuff. Seller Z. Let's go with that. Yeah. Meant to check. Provider, seller is the pair. We're going to go with a Z. The destination is going to be the seller Z. Yeah. Just a bunch of seller Z and something like that. So here I'm updating the seller Z. I'm minting the Z token, or I'm creating the Z token. Then I'm creating the associated token account for the seller. And yeah. So this way I'm not messing up all my other stuff. Let me just, so now if I wanted to copy this whole thing, let me find, oops. Copy this whole thing. See if I can use, I guess I'm doing it right here. 24. Which wallet am I doing in this one? Yeah. Just copying this down and let's do another test. So we'll init Escrow 3 with out token or seller out Z. Yeah, let's see. So it doesn't really matter so much on the let's just change this up. Started an initialize escrow test. I can change out amount. I don't really have to mess with that so much. I'm not testing the value so much, but what the out mint is going to be Z instead, and the in mint will stay as Y. The seller out token account in this case will be the seller Z token account. Yeah. The escrow is going to be escrow 3. And this is just the public key that we're going to use to create the escrowed token account. And token program, rent, all that stuff is the same. Fine too, because we're creating this. We need the escrowed out token 3. Custom program is all the same. Current escrow. Just gotta make sure that I'm doing that correctly. Update global state. Line 2. 2. Yeah. Should be like, we should be able to initialize this. So let's see. I'm not going to worry about current escrow out amount 2080. I didn't change any of those amounts. The balance should be 20. Bump will be the bump that we derive. And yeah, let's just see if this works. So we have initialize 2 with the same wallet. This is also the same wallet, but we're focusing here on the hang on, let's see. Here we're focusing on the this whole ATA. So I'm gonna first just go back to Solana, the validator. Let me close this down, rerun, and rebuild. Just in case we want to make sure we've got everything, you know, everything kind of up and running with a fresh start. But this time, rather than testing it in directly in our front end, we're going to run our tests. So I'm going to do the anchor run test escrow, which only runs the test for this program. And let's see what happens. We should be able to, I've just added some new variables. Escrow number 3, escrow PDA. We get the new PDA. Initialize escrow 3 with seller out token of Z. So, all right. So we ran into an issue. This is why tests are helpful. Let's see what's happening here. So, what does our log say? Yeah, everything's okay. So we see escrow before. So some of these, the like cancel, that stuff is looking good. Initialize. This is when we get custom program error. Initialize. Constraint. All right, so anchor error caused by account seller out token constraint raw. A raw constraint was violated. A raw constraint was violated. Feel like this is talking about seeds by chance? Perhaps. So let me go back to a raw constraint was violated. And it was the seller out token is the issue. Yeah. Seller out token account. Raw constraint was violated. What is wrong with my seller Z? What is wrong with my seller Z? Now, is the escrow number correct? As we're building, as we're initializing more and more, this trying to think of like what could be the problem. Well, let's go look at our program. So for initialize, right here, a raw constraint. the out token mint key needs to be the same mint as the seller's out token account that we passed. So let me go and make sure that I turned it to Z. Yeah, out mint is Z mint, and seller Z token account, right? Where am I finding where else are we doing this? Create associated, doing that. And then mint to checked, console log, Z token balance. Do I have? Cancel trade. Escrow number 2. Initialize. Escrow number 3. So this errored. Raw program, custom program error. Raw constraint was violated. Raw constraint was violated on seller out token account. When I look at this, I've created this. Created the associated token account. That seems to work, I think. And then get token account balance. And then, yeah, let's see. Kind of feel as if maybe I've clearly missed something, but I'm trying to figure out what exactly, because to initialize, this is our validation struct for anchor. Then the seller out token account mint should be the same as the out mint key. I think that looks good from what I can tell. That is, so the out mint is this, which should be a public key. Oops. We're creating it. Yeah. We create the token. We create the associated token account. Yeah. So what is this buyer? Hang on. What is that? Hang on. Adding Z-mint and only creating. This may have been the problem, because I'm actually trying to, hang on. All right, so copy pasta can get you in trouble sometimes. So this is the issue. I'm creating if we look at the create associated token account method, it requires a connection, a payer, the mint, and the owner. Well, the owner of this account is not going to be the buyer, but instead the seller. That was my issue, because that would have violated the constraint. How? Seller out token account owner equals the wallet, the seller's wallet. It's the same person. But here, I was actually making this out token account, which is the seller's Z token account in this case. I was making, by accident, the owner property set to the buyer. And so that would throw the violation error. That, I'm pretty sure, is what happened. So I'm going to shut down, rerun, rebuild, and deploy. And now let's, not Solana, but Anchor, run test escrow. And with that change, I feel like it should work. Yeah, okay, good. So, all right, baby steps. So now we've initialized a third escrow that is using the Z token account. Yeah, and these checks are fine. What we need to do now is not so much the not initializing anymore. What I need to do is I need to try testing, accepting from the buyer. So now, again, I said copy pasta can get you in trouble, and it probably will. Accept the trade. Without so what's going to happen here? I'm going to get rid of these comments. This is old stuff. And I'm going to format this. All right. So we're accepting the trade as the buyer. Now the escrow that we're talking about in this case is escrow 3. I have an escrow 3. Wait a minute. Don't I? Escrow 3. Oh, it's that. How the heck is that working? Did I make a mistake? So escrow PDA 3. That works, but hang on. Did I mess this up originally? Yeah, where the heck is this? Escrow 1 PDA. Where the hell is that coming from? Accept the trade. And you're passing escrow 1 PDA. Strange. So how is that even working? It's defined there. Oh, I see. I did mess up just in the naming of the variable. I see. Do I want escrow PDA? Maybe I do escrow. Maybe it makes sense to actually do escrow 1 PDA, escrow 2. All right, so let's do this real fast. It's going to change this to escrow 2 PDA. Wait. My understanding is that you're in Vim, if I do on the word, oh, okay. If you're on the word and then you do the asterisk, then it will basically highlight what you've, the current symbol, and then you can do the and I can get 2 slashes. Basically, I'm replacing, I've already found the search, which is Escrow PDA 2, and I want to change it to Escrow 2 PDA. Yeah, and G will do all instances by line. Like, look, if I get rid of the G, then this second one doesn't get caught. But G, it's like globally. It allows you to find like more than just the first match on that line. And then C will allow you to confirm the changes. I'll go ahead and try. So yeah. That makes sense, and that makes sense. Okay. All right. And now let's just do one more. This time I'm not going to bother finding it. I'm just going to type in a search, whole file with the %S for the search string, and I'm going to look for escrow, what was it? Escrow PDA 3. I'm going to change that to be escrow 3 PDA and GC again, just to double check. Yeah. All right. That should be it. So if I go down, let me just add an X here to skip this test real fast and just double check that my changes, renamings right there did not do any major damage. Let's build and deploy. And now, let's get our logs going just in case something does not work as expected. Now we can run our test and get lucky. Should be okay. Yeah. All right. And 1 pending, which makes sense because we told it to. All right. So, back to this. Let's get rid of the X. And now, we're going to use this new naming, escrow 3 PDA, yada, yada, yada. So we want the buyer. The escrowed out token account is not escrowed 1, but escrow 3. Yeah. The seller in token account. What did I say it was going to be? The Y meant. I think I can leave it as seller n because I haven't actually created these yet. I think it may make sense now that I'm added like a third token and I can't just use in out accounts. I'm gonna have to eventually change that. In fact, make a little, I'm gonna do to-dos like I've been doing. And then here I feel like that's good enough. You don't need all that. So add a third. I've added the mint. Now let's go to our accept. Yeah, accept the trade without buyer having So this is, yeah, this is the moment that we're looking for. So it's going to be the same as the seller in. Seller in, where does seller in? Oh, hang on. No, seller in. Oh, seller in is going to be Y. Yeah, it's still the Y meant. Yeah, okay. Okay. Just want to make sure. All right. Seller in, buyer in token account. This is the, will this work without, buyer out. That's going to be the Y token. Y meant. And this is Y meant. So he's paying Y to receive Z. Yeah. And that's that. Data we don't want. The data we're getting is from Escrow 3. It's our third one. The token account is going to be the third public key that we are generating. And yeah, so buyer toString equal, yeah, that should be right. Data is active. Data has exchanged. Oh, after we fetch the data, we're double checking that some of these things are correct. 37, what do we got? Yeah. I'm not sure if this is going to work because in my program, the buyer in token, hang on. Oh, sorry about that. The buyer in token is actually going to be the, I've already set this previously. So right now I've set it as X, so that I can't use X. I really, in this case, need to use, I can specify the Z token. Yeah. But he doesn't have a Z token. Z token is not really going to be an associated count. So I'm pretty darn sure this is not going to work. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is not going to work. So 55, that should not work. What I could try is buyer Z token account. Yeah. But this is empty. Like this is just a declared, there's nothing else to it. Like I'm not using, yeah. So I don't see this working. In my program over here, when I go to initialize is working, but like let's look at accept. If we go to the buyer in, the buyer in token account mint must equal the same mint, and it's a token account. So this for sure is not going to work. I'm going to run it anyway, even though I know it won't work. But my question is, like, at what, like, where do we build? Where do we do this? You know, where do we let me go and put the logs going. But like, where do we do this whole get or create associated token account address, you know, yeah, buyer in token account not provided. Yeah, because it's just empty. It's just empty. So my question is, this is a validation struct. Handy, sure, for the context to perform the accept function instruction. Okay, and this double checks that we have all the accounts needed for the transaction. That said, when we run accept here, when we run our accept function here, it's expecting these accounts to align. Yeah. So I feel like maybe it is in the front end that we are doing this. You know, right now we're just doing a simple transferring of the tokens, but this buyer in account, it needs to exist. It needs to exist, and I'm wondering, like, it just won't run, right? Like, the method, this won't run. As it said, it will error because the buyer in, like this Z token, buyer Z token account just does not exist. So, yeah, I think I need to perform the check on the client. And so I'm looking at some of the docs here. Get here, the Solana Labs, get or create, retrieve the associated token account or create it if it does not exist. Yeah, this is the official formal Solana program library from, they call it an action. And it's does all this stuff. So let me see if I can let me see if I can do this. So one of the things I could do is first need to let me split this, and I'm going to jump up, and I have this create associated. Yeah, I have this. Now what I could do is kind of use this as an example. So I need to first, like, you know, check whether yeah. So I could do something like I did in the front end. I'm not sure if I could, so I could do like well, let me see. How do they do this? So create transfer function. Yeah. So I don't even know if I have to do the check because really use the get or create associated token account. So like that's going to perform the check where it's going to derive the address and create the actual account. So I feel like I can just jump right into it. So buyer Z token account. Yeah, let's try it. There's a wait and then get or create. And then the things that we're passing in here are provider, because we're on the front side, like on the testing. So provider connection. What else do we need here? I need to probably import this. Get or create. Yeah. Oops. Okay. Do that. Get some help around here. So retrieve the associated token account or create it if it does not exist, which in this case it won't. I wonder if I should I add some up top to ensure that the buyer it's an idea. I'm not sure at this point, but so we have the connection. The payer of this is going to be I guess in this case, I mean, this is the accept. So can who's the payer on this? I feel like this should be, I mean, this is going to be the buyer's in token account. So I'm thinking that we can make the buyer be the payer. Yeah. And then the mint, right? Connection, payer, mint, owner. The mint, so this is the payer. Now it's just going to be the Z mint because it's already a public key. Should be. And then the owner. Argument of type public key is not signer. Oh, okay. So if it's the payer and you need the signer, then you need the actual key pair. that should do it. But I do wonder if I could use like expect chai assertion. You know, I kind of feel like expect buyer Z token account. Just Z token account. I don't know, to equal? Or what does empty do? Empty equals? Not 100% sure with chai and jest, but I wonder, like, is empty? Not sure. Does that work? I don't know if empty is the right, or to equal what is this equal? What is the value on this thing? Any? It's null. Yeah? What the heck is it gonna equal? I don't even know if there's a value that it can equal to. Curious. I'm gonna take a quick look. Chai expect is empty. Expect should chai is empty array. How to assert not null. Curious. Just curious for a second. Mocha framework. Assert foo will pass any truthy value, so it's not equal to null. Expect my object to exist is not null. Curious is like, what is the value of this is a beginner question, but if I simply go to console log the value of buyer Z token account, what the heck does that actually log? Like, I understand, like, the variable is one thing, but we have it point to, you know, a value. But when you just declare something like this, like a variable, but you don't actually initialize it to any sort of value, what actually happens there? So a couple little things are coming to mind. I'm curious if like what happens. So let's just run it and see what kind of errors we get. Curious though. run test, but build. Let's build it up. Get the logs going, and then here we will do the anchor run test. And let's see what sort of errors we get. Genuinely curious. Was passed non-string primitive undefined. Okay. Where are my logs at? So when I console log, it should be up here. Yeah? Like at the very top. So we run seller, buyer out. Printing quite a bit. I feel like it's undefined. Okay, so it's undefined. All right, so how do I check? What did I say? Assert undefined. I don't know if you can. Try should is undefined. Oh, there's a whole is undefined. That's helpful. I mean, the test error is thrown if the value is defined. However, if nothing happens, the value is undefined. So, function check if value is truthy. Okay. So, all right. So, what did I learn in this? This should be this right here, undefined. That's nice to know. Kind of felt like that was the case because I'm not like undefined is my understanding. It is a primitive type in JavaScript, but you have the yeah, I mean it's a primitive type, but you can set something to null, which is also a separate primitive type. And null is like it's intentionally, like you know it's there and it intentionally is null. Like you've set it to null, like you know it's empty, like it doesn't have like any other type of value. Whereas undefined is like kind of a bad thing. Like you're not really like it's really undefined. You're not even sure, about what the heck is going to go there. So if you're like declaring something like this, it may be best to, rather than undefined, it may be better for me to actually initialize these to be null. Or add some types and stuff to where it's like a token account, type token account or null. Anyway, but now we know. So if that's the case, then down here, rather than expect is there assert? Is it assert? Assert dot is undefined, and then buyer z token account. cannot find name. Well, expect dot or expect buyer Z token account is undefined or is can I do instance of type comparison property instance of undefined? Does that work? And then buyer Z token account. Is this the message should be like should be undefined, but has I'm not sure if that's the right way, but let's see if this works. I know this is, I don't need this test to this assertion, I should say. Oh, no. That's not gonna work. I need to anchor build and then all right, now let's run this thing. Like, I gotta be honest, like going through this is, I'm learning quite a bit, but at the end of the day, like who's gonna use this? Not entirely sure. Not entirely sure like who's gonna use this. Like you're better off like going to how do you expect or maybe it's an undefined. I'm not gonna Z token account is equal I'm not sure. To be undefined, maybe. To be undefined. Maybe that's the one. I'm not sure. If this didn't work, I'm moving on because it's not the big thing. The whole idea is that, you know, obviously in this case, I want to make sure that I'm writing a test that, you know, it can't find the correct associated token account. So before it tries to do anything else with the rest of the test, it asserts that that token account doesn't exist, and I want to make sure that my whole get and create works. But you could argue that I didn't need to do any of that. But you know, hey, we're learning as we go. So let's run this one more time. And yeah, I feel like we're getting close to okay. Wrong input type for account buyer in token. In the instruction accounts object for instruction accept expected public key or string. Okay. I think the felt like that worked. Now what happens here? Perhaps with this get or create associated token account, now I'm wondering if there's more to this that I need to do, because here, when I use the create associated token account, yeah, it seems to work, but I'm curious if this actually, like, what's the type on this? Any? I'm curious when I actually pass this. I'm not making still type any. I'm wondering if this has not gone through. You know, it's awaiting this. But I'm wondering if there's some sort of confirmation that I need to do. It's going to return a promise, and I feel as if that should work. So one thing that I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go up here, and I think this I'm going to comment that out, and we've got this new log, and I'm going to go back and try this one more time. I don't think this is coming from that expect check at the very top. I think this is actually, I think that expect is undefined. I think that is working out okay. So, but I want to see if, oh, I did not mean to, yeah. I want to see if the same thing occurs. same kind of error output occurs without it. Yeah, which it does. Okay. So I kind of felt like that expect is undefined is actually working correctly. But what I need to see is right here. Hey, so this is the account. Gives me the mint, the owner, the amount, yada, yada, yada. So that actually worked. That's working. Now, this is a full-on account. Right? What am I? This is just this is, let me, why am I getting confused on this? Buyer in token account. This is like the full-on account, but should this instead be the account pub key? What am I doing with the other accept? Cancel, accept, buyer in token account. And where do I do this? Here. That's the associated token account. Yeah. I feel like that, like, I'm not deriving, I'm not, what can I say? You know, like public key or something like that. So why is this not data buyer toString? Data's active. Yeah, I feel like that's right. Yeah, what happened here? So that worked. This worked. Initialize. Sorry, I'm just gonna go through my accept the trade. I don't have much for logs on the accept the trade, do I? Literally, it's like escrowed out token, escrow account. Yeah, I mean, feels pretty good. Why the heck is this not initialize? That works. Here is initialize true. Wrong input type for buyer in token account. Maybe it is expecting a public key? Strange. What am I missing? Like, is that even right? I mean, accounts, what I do know, and so it's kind of strange seeing like this buyer Z token account after that, and then it prints like the object, and inside it's got the address, the mint, which is a public key. The address is the Like, so it's got all the data. I'm wondering, but I'm not passing that in any other one. Like when I do the my first accept trade, right? Like seller and buyer in. I'm not passing any sort of dot address. So I'm a little confused as to why why that? Make sure I'm reading this right. So wrong input type for account, buyer in token account in the instruction accounts object. All right, let me see. What is this? Namespace, namespace. What happens here? Where does this error? Where does this error? It should error, right? Oh, well, here's the escrow before transfer. It's number 3. Out mint, in mint. It has data. Strange. Strange. Instruction. Initialize. Escrow number 2. Escrow before transfer. This is coming from my... Yeah. Here. It's the data. It's getting logged here. And does the transfer, so it sends it over to the actual escrow. We've initialized it. And then, yeah, errors out. Something, this happens. So, yeah. Buyer in this instruction in the instructions accounts object for instruction accept. Expected public key or string. I don't see that working. I know the answer to this is no. Can't do it without that. It's gonna screw up. But yeah, this is the accounts object, the instruction accounts object. This is it. And what I have for this, it's expecting a public key or string. Well, crap, I don't know. Let's use the address property and see if that works. But I've certainly have I haven't had to do that with the prior accept instruction or transfer, but I don't know. Let me see. The hell? It worked. It worked. So what is different about that? What's different about this versus... You know what? What is returned here? This is... All right, so the difference is here. The difference is that I have... It's this get or create associated token account. It returns something slightly different than what I have just with these other like token accounts. So like this is slightly different. Like this returns like probably the associated token account structure, you know, type, whereas this has the get or create returns something slightly different, and therefore I had to dig in one layer to access the address property on that. So yeah, okay, so get or create associate, it returns a promise with type account. I wonder if create associated token account, let's look at this one. This one, now I know. This returns a public key. Gotcha. And this returns a freaking account. So that's the big learning. So this is this returns type account, not public key. So you have to access the address property to get the pub key. Nice. Figured it out. So, that's nice to know. I've never used this. I've seen it around in some of the like tutorials or docs, but that's basically, that explains it. Definitely dealing with slightly different return value, and that's why it was complaining. I mean, the error was really clear, but yeah. So, okay, so that's encouraging. We, as a test, we've got it. I certainly could try to think what other scenario. So initiator, they first have to, the seller has to first offer up a token that they have. Could have it where I could use this for when the seller is wanting a token that they don't have an ATA for. So in this scenario, I've done seller in token. Like here, we know what it is, like because we've already created the Y meant, you know. So that's what this is pointing to. But imagine doing a scenario where the seller in token is actually a token that they don't have, but they want one of. So yeah, let's do that next. So I've updated my, I'm going to add one more test, very similar to what we just did, but this time from the seller's point of view. The seller's going to initialize an escrow, and they're going to want a token type that they don't have. So similar, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add a fourth token. Gets a little crazy, I know, but really can't think of like a, I mean, I could like, I'm already minting. I've already got a lot of tests working for these other mints, so it doesn't take much to just add a fourth token. So I'm going to do let w mint, and we'll do change this to w, and yeah, still need to like update these, you know, and this way, now that I'm adding so many more tokens, certainly need to clean up this test. But first I'm just going to try to ensure that I can do the functionality the way. So we'll just generate another one. Fourth escrow. This time, oops, this time we'll do 4. Yeah, and this time what I'm going to do is I'm still using my seller because it's kind of the main local wallet that I have, but w mint, the seller is still going to be like the payer and authority and all that stuff for it, just like it was for the Z mint. So we'll do that. This is just creating the mint itself. Nothing more than that really. So we have a w mint. Let's keep going. Seller out. I'm not gonna bother with mint to checked. Like that's all standard stuff. Seller in, buyer out. What I'm gonna do now is I'm going to mint I'm going to use this for adding w mint for buyers. So So basically, the seller is not going to have the associated token. Instead, we're going to have the buyer W token account. The creating, again, this is just the before hook. So this is just kind of setup stuff. Doesn't really matter so much on the, yeah, we're just who's paying for the associated token account creation. I think we'll still just make it the owner. Obviously this time is going to be the buyer. The payer of this, I mean, I guess we could can I have the payer? Yeah, I even have a question. Like, I don't, maybe it doesn't really matter because maybe I can set it to be buyer. Again, we're just creating the, and we don't want the Z, we want the W. And I think we could set it up as just buyer. And the payer, you need the signer, which in this case is going to be the buyer. I think either way, we're just who's paying for it, who's paying for this account creation. And this isn't seller Z token account. This is buyer W token account. And we're going to mint some supply. Let's see, the payer of the transaction. What have I done in the past? I guess with the mint to, how do I, payer, key, payer, still don't know, but type key payer, okay. I think it'd be fine to make the buyer as the payer. We're talking about the W mint. Where do we want it to go? We want it to go to the buyer W. And the mint authority is going to be, oh, I see what you know what? Let's keep it. I'm going to just keep it consistent. So the owner of the account is going to be the buyer. Yeah, but we'll do the seller dot payer, which this is when you're working with Anchor and you're in the test, they have a special unique Anchor wallet type that they use for like signing transactions and stuff inside their test in the testing suite. So that's the slight difference. So the mint to checked, we'll have the seller still pay for this transaction for the minting and stuff. The seller is still the mint authority of the W token, but the destination, in this case, we do want the buyer W token. That's where we want to send some tokens, some W tokens. Same kind of thing. Seller Z token, we'll do buyer W token. And buyer W token. That should do that. So the idea here is that now the buyer has the W token and the seller would like some. So what I can do now is kind of more or less create, copy copy this bit, and we're gonna use it on the reverse. And I'm gonna, while I'm looking at this previous test, except I'm gonna call it Escrow 3 trade. Just for clarification. And here, we're working with N token as W mint. Okay. That should do that. And same kind of thing. Gonna take the time to Change these up. And the balances, like, I don't, again, not important. Just more stuff to change. I've already tested out the balances and stuff above. So I'm gonna ignore that for now. And what are we doing? So let's say the out meant, I mean, we could. We could say like the out is Z and the in is W. And so, you know, seller out token Z should have some supply. Or, this gets a little different, but I mean, it should, in theory, work. Yeah. Token account, token program, out is Z. Oh, you know what? Let's just keep it, isolate it. So let's say out is X, okay? We'll keep it that way. Out is X, and currently I think I've only got this. Like I said, I need to change this eventually and rename it, but not right now. Oops. Not right now. So the out will be X and the in mint is W, which it won't have any ATA. So make sure that we're testing the correct thing. Signers is the new escrowed out token account 4. All the rest of this should be pretty standard. Update global state. 5. Copy pasta can get you in trouble, but also can help you out a little bit. So seller, anything changing here? Authority is the seller. All the same, all the same. In amount, balances, bumps. Yeah, I feel like that's all good. So here, accept the escrow for trade without seller having token W ATA. Could do seller W token account. Need to make sure that that's undefined. I probably should set that to null eventually, but either way, as long as it catches that there's nothing there. And then here, this should work. This should work, yeah. The mint, who's paying for this, Who should pay for that? I think it's still the buyer. Maybe. I wonder if I wonder. A question I have that's a little bit different. Should the seller pay to part of me is thinking, actually, why is the buyer paying for this account? If the seller is wanting that, then shouldn't the seller pay? So part of me is like, up here, like they're initializing an in token that they don't have. Like this right here, like they're specifying an in mint. They want an in mint that they don't have. So should they should the seller pay for it's just I don't think this is that big of a deal. It's just like small transaction fee. For now, I'll just leave it as is. But basically, let's have the pay. We're doing this transaction as the buyer. So I think if we try to do this inside this accept instruction, that kind of complicates things because you're going to need maybe a different signer, But here, if we have the buyer as the payer, and it's creating the WMint ATA for the seller, but the owner is actually the seller pub key, and we can say seller W token after. Feel like that should. We're getting there. Now, the buyer is the buyer. The escrow that we're looking for is not escrow 3, but escrow 4. The out token, again, is the escrow 4. The in token, the seller in token, in this case, is W. And we're going to call that seller W. The buyer in, buyer, which one is the in? I think it's buyer in, which should be X mint, right? Because that's what we're paying. But this is not. This is type account, not a public key. So I'm going to need the address because that's what the get or create function brings back. And the buyer out is going to be the W mint. So buyer W, right? The buyer is a signer, has the transaction, escrow 4. Same thing. Change that. Yada, yada, yada. And I think I haven't missed much in that first pass. So let's see. I've deployed. I haven't done like anything else. So I feel like we can go ahead and do got my logs running. So let's do anchor run test escrow. I'm not sure. So we're minting separate tokens. Okay. Error processing instruction. What happened? Account not associated with this mint. Initialize account 3. And there's an account not associated with this mint. Mint to checked. Alright, I feel like I missed something easy. This is in the before hook, so I've done something. wmint. Xmint. Zmint. Seller. Doing all that. And yeah. Let's see. Mint to checked. Clearly have missed something here. I knew it wasn't, it all happened inside this before hook, and here it is. I've got mint to checked. This is where the arrow is happening. The connection, the payer, and the mint. This isn't gonna, I have it as Z mint. What I meant was W mint. We're minting supply to the buyer W token account, ATA, and the authority is still the seller, because that's the mint. It's the authority that we set on the actual W mint, and that should behave a bit better for us. So let's go through the routine. And yeah, we're getting there. So I think the, handling and cleaning up some of these little bits are important. I need to eventually implement this on the front end side. So yeah, okay, all right. So it's a different error. Let's see what we got. Initialize escrow 4 with seller, and token as W. Assertion error, expected false to equal true. And what was the issue? Showing here 897 is hard to read. There's an assertion. We were expecting it to be true, but it was false. Okay, well, what sort of assertions are we doing? I'm going to get rid of some of these notes. Gets a little... very well could be that we are pointing to the wrong something. So when you copy and paste, it can cause some problems. All right, so the seller W token looks fine. That seems to be working. I did feel like it was printing out that account detail. Yeah, right here. This whole thing, that's the account. It's got quite a bit of properties on it. Yeah. So this seems to have gone through, pointing to the correct buyer in. I'm pretty sure. I wasn't quite sure. Yeah, buyer in, we set it to the X mint. So that's right. Let's go back down. So in this case, it's that's right, the buyer W. We have minted supply to buyer W. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, okay, so data is active. Has exchanged. And this balance to be 0. Interesting. Okay. What are we missing? What are we missing? So the only checks that I'm doing, the buyer should be the buyer. Like, I'm logging the data and I'm fetching the correct PDA. So like, you know, we've got the right Escrow 4 PDA. But where am I setting Escrow 4 PDA? Setting it here, and I set it to state Escrow 4. Yeah, everything. Hang on. It's supposed to be Escrow 4, but yet I'm setting the escrow here, current escrow, when I initialize Escrow 4 with seller in token as W mint. But yeah, this is incorrect. I've set this using the old Escrow 3 PDA, when it really should be Escrow 4. Yeah, so that would cause the problem. And I was looking at a completely different escrow. So, that was a fairly quick catch. Let's go ahead and redo this one more time. Now it's going to be a bit different implementing this on the front end. And what I guess is kind of interesting to me is that I wasn't really sure if that's kind of like get or create associated token account, like if that function was going to be something that I would check on the program or on the front end. But it makes sense that it's collected or checked on the client, because when you're executing any of these kind of program instructions, they expect you have to pass them all of the accounts and the account state that you plan on like using. So you have to pass those accounts in advance. So like you have to pass all of those accounts that you're going to be interacting with, that your program will, with that instruction will interact with, in order to execute it, from my understanding. So then if they don't have an ATA account, then there's nothing to pass, and that's not going to work. So there's really the only way that I can think of that is like you've got to address that on the front end in the client. So yeah, I think that's interesting, because it kind of relates a little bit to my to the idea of possibly implementing SOL exchanges, SPL tokens for SPL tokens. As we see, like it's starting to work, because all of the accounts that you would pass in to initialize and verify and accept and all that, it's all the same when you're dealing with SPL tokens. However, when you're dealing with native SOL, gets a bit different. It's a bit different, because you there's this this idea of using wrapped SOL. Wrapped SOL is kind of what you would use when you want native SOL to act as an SPL token instead. So then you have to kind of do this like creating ATAs for wrapped SOL, and then closing those ATAs in order to unwrap. And I feel like some of that is just going to have to be addressed on the front end. Like if the user selects SOL, for example, and tries to initialize, then it's kind of like creating. You're going to have to go ahead and on the front end just go ahead and do the get or create type of thing, possibly to create the wrapped SOL associated token account. Could be an idea. But so this is good, working with this whole, going through and addressing this issue of if at any time a user doesn't have the correct or have an initialized ATA, then we gotta do something about it. We gotta create it, and looks like you created it on the front end. So, and here we are, test pass, looking good. So, yeah, happy about this. Overall, we've added this check, and really not a whole lot of code that we're dealing with. Really, it's just using this get or create associated token account. So yeah, I feel like this kind of does it for the test on the as a test. I think next is I've got to add test. This is done, and that's done. This part, I'll back this up actually and make that a separate, just a cleaning up. And this is some housekeeping. I would need to eventually handle the renaming and just become a bit more explicit, since we're dealing with multiple tokens now. And I've got a W XYZ account. So yeah, need to do that eventually. But I think for testing purposes, I think pretty good. So it's basically showed me that I don't really have to change much in the except for performing a check in advance, on the ATA of the user, just making sure that they have it and create it, get it or create it. And so then we can pass it to as an account. So yeah, there you go. Moving on.